My heavens, you look so much like him.
You, Dad. Story time. Let's take a trip down memory lane. The year is 2008. The world is on the brink of economic collapse. You're standing on the precipice of puberty, and Fallout 3 is released to the public. In this video, I'm going to explain the entire storyline of the main quest. That's right, I'm coming out of retirement for one last video to tell you a story about love, friendship and betrayal. Strap in because it's gonna be the bomb. The birth of this video is also the birth of the main character. The son of James and Catherine is called the Lone Wanderer. Right from the get-go, you realize that this is a fantasy game because you get called handsome by a female.
Oh, beautiful son.
The Lone Wanderer can be anything you want them to be, except Orc or Argonian, so the game is pretty trash. You're free to make your own choices in the game, but they each have their own moral implications. What's up y'all, I'm at my grandpa's house and I'm gonna pull an epic prank. Your alignment is tracked by your karma stat, which in turn leads to different paths and even different endings. For the sake of this video, let's split the story into the viewpoint of two characters. On the one hand we have Leopold, Lightbringer, the last hope for this world. He's trying to follow in the footsteps of his father and doing everything in his power to make everyone around him better. There's also Clerice, the destroyer of worlds. So it's basically this. Before we continue, I'd like to take a moment to thank you all for the influx of new subscribers. Thanks to you, we're so close to 1 million. I won't let you down. A very cool detail is that the traits you pick for your character can also be seen in your father's face.
You look so much like him.
You, Dad. Dear old Dad is voiced by none other than Liam Neeson.
He always loved that.
After creating and naming the Lone Wanderer, the mother dies in childbirth, and James is forced to take up the role of a single parent. So that sucks. 1 year passes and James and his child find themselves in the safety of Vault 101. Fallout takes place in an alternative universe where the world had a falling out. That's why it's called Fallout. Resulting in global thermonuclear destruction in the year 2077. So basically a game of civilization anytime Gandhi is involved. To keep citizens relatively safe from this conflict, vaults were constructed under the guise of sheltering its residents. In actuality, the vaults were used to do scientific experiments, reducing its inhabitants to nothing more than lab rats. It was tight. Vault 101's experiment is that residents were never allowed to leave. Ever. At this point in the game, our options are quite limited because we are a baby.
Over here.
The only thing we can do is read a book that allows us to distribute our stats. As for our characters, Leopold is a very smart young boy with above average intelligence, excellent social skills and endurance. Clerice is jacked as fuck, owing to his large cranium. After distributing our stats, Liam Neeson shows us a framed picture of Revelation 21:6 from the Bible. You see, before Catherine met her untimely demise, James and her had a dream of opening up a water park that would be free to access. But all of that had to be put on hold when disaster struck. So James' entire character arc is now basically this.
216 forever in my soul.
This part of the game ends with James and his son seeking out Amata for a playdate. 9 years pass, and the Lone Wanderer celebrates becoming 10. James's heartfelt speech is interrupted by Amata's father, the Overseer. He is tasked with keeping the vault up and running and making sure everyone stays inside. Forever. The party progresses and secrets are revealed.
Seems like only yesterday that your daddy came. Goodness.
We then get intimidated into giving up our birthday cake to Butch, the class bully. Leopold decides he does not want any trouble and he gives a sweet roll to Butch. Clerice recognizes this for what it is, an attempt at taking over his position as the alpha male. Only one option remains.
Don't you talk about my mom, you little punk.
Later, James gives his child a BB gun for their birthday. Leo understands that this is a symbol of trust from his father. He decides to keep the vault clear of vermin with his newfound power. Clerice has other plans. Amada, I swear to God, don't come to school tomorrow. The Lone Wanderer turns 16, and it's time to take the goat.
You what?
The Generalized Occupational Aptitude Test.
No!
Leo tries to avoid taking the goat by faking sickness. I know what sick looks like, this isn't it. But this is, son, when I was your age, I was sick. On the way to the classroom, Amada is being bullied by Butch and his gang. Leo uses the power of diplomacy to get Butch to back off, while Clerice uses the power of diplomacy to arm Butch with hurtful insults. But let's be real for a second. Bullying, in any sense of the word, is not cool. You should always be aware of the impact that your words can have on another.
Amada's got more chins than a Chinese phone book.
Leo tries his darndest at the goat and he ends up becoming a fry cook. Clerice decides not to take the test at all and he lives off of welfare income despite being physically apt. 3 years of burger flipping and drinking beer while watching the f***ing telly pass by and Amada wakes up the lone wanderer. She tells that James has left the vault and the overseer's pissed since he failed the one task that he had, keeping the vault closed forever. He is now using his security force to kill people and is coming for the Lone Wanderer next. The only way to survive is by escaping the vault. But first, the Lone Wanderer finds a message from their dad.
Son, I'm leaving. I don't want you following me. I guess this is goodbye, son. Catch you on the flippity flip.
Further down the vault, the Lone Wanderer finds the Overseer torturing Amada for information on her whereabouts. Leopold intervenes and quickly runs away to avoid any more bloodshed. Clerice decides to defund the police permanently, after which they both leave the vault. Forever. Fallout 3 is set in a post-apocalyptic Washington DC, and it uses many landmarks from the USA's capital. Our first step is the local township of Megaton. This town is built around an atomic bomb because the Great War apparently blew up all the elementary schools as well. A local barkeeper by the name of Colin Moriarty has information about her dad's whereabouts, but the information is not free. Despite being short on cash, Leo opts to pay Moriarty for the information he so desperately needs. Clerice weighs his options a bit more carefully, and he plans on hacking into Moriarty's computer and blackmailing him by making his browser history public. He then realizes this will be nonsense. Instead, Clerice decides to collect the debt for him, but never actually returns the money. He buys a 2-bedroom apartment instead and he overcharges a single mother of 2 for subletting. He then hacks into Moriarty's computer and blackmails him with making his browser history public. I mean, if your circle is not discussing strategies such as these, get yourself a new circle. The Lone Wanderer learns that his dad left for Galaxy News Radio in downtown DC, but before we conclude our business in Megaton, there is still the matter of the atomic bomb. Leo disarms the bomb, which makes him a hero in the eyes of the Megatonians, and he is awarded with his own house in town, which he would never sublet to a single mom of 2 for exorbitant prices. Clerice instead meets a mysterious benefactor named Mr. Burke, who makes an offer to pay a boatload of money to whomever rigs the bomb to explode. Upon hearing this, Clerice becomes Clarissa and seduces Mr. Burke into paying more money. He agrees.
Yes.
He then returns to his male form and continues his Sigma male grind set by traveling to Tenpenny Towers. Here, he meets the proprietor, Alistair Tenpenny, who is currently preoccupied with the game of League of Legends.
I say, must you be so caustic?
All 3 of them set off the nuclear bomb. By now, your karma meter is probably saying you are an evil c***. Luckily, you can just give pure water to people in need to raise it back up. Detonating the bomb in Megaton loses 1000 karma points, but giving a water bottle away gives 50 karma points back. Quick maths dictate that it takes 20 water bottles to fully wash away the sins of blowing up Megaton. This is absolutely ridiculous, so let's do a little thought experiment. Assume that the same rules apply to the real world. Suppose he wants to make amends and restore his karma level back to neutral. How many water bottles would Adolf? While I still have my channel, let's move on. Leo follows the trail of his father by going to Galaxy News Radio, which is a radio station that broadcasts copyrighted music of dead people, which is a baller move. The Wasteland is a dark and inhospitable place, with dangers lurking around every corner. To partly circumvent this, Leo took shortcuts through the subway system. He got in a little scrummage with some specimen and he tried to defend himself. Unfortunately, he was greeted with the same outcome when I tried to talk to women. After a long and arduous journey, Leo emerges from the subway, where he is immediately gunned down by super mutants. Luckily, he gets his small white ass saved by Sarah Lyons, who is a member of the Brotherhood of Steel, a military unit that is primarily focused on the retention and acquisition of technology. Together, they fight through downtown DC. After finally reaching Galaxy News Radio, they are interrupted by a super mutant behemoth, which is like a super mutant if it was the size of Amada.
You're okay, Pipsqueak.
But we and our newly found comrades are victorious. After the battle, Leo musters up the courage to ask an important question. Hey Sarah, after all this is over, do you wanna go for drinks sometime? Inside, we learn that the radio host 3Dog knows where my dad is. He is also not giving up that information for free. 3Dog just needs a new satellite dish to improve the radio signal strength. We can get this disc at the Museum of Technology. After some sick MLG no-scoping like it's 2014, Leo finds the disc and sets off to install it at the Washington Monument. Galaxy News Radio can now be received anywhere in the capital wasteland, and to show his gratitude, 3Doc tells us that Dad left for Rivet City, which is a city on a boat. On the way there, Leo has a typical wasteland experience. Oh hell no. After arriving at Rivet City, he asks for a Dr. Lee.
Let me guess. No, she's not expecting you. But it's really important, and you need to see her right away.
Yes.
Carry on then.
Dr. Lee recognizes James's son and sends him to the site of their former workplace, the Jefferson Memorial. Super mutants have overrun the place and it's up to Leo to clear it out. While doing so, he uncovers holotapes left by James. Leo finally learns that James left for Vault 112. He also discovers his parents' sex tape and vows to never speak of it again. Let's recap. James, Leo and Clerice live happily in Vault 101. One day, James leaves for Megaton and Leo and Clerice follow suit. James is not there anymore, so they move on as well. Clerice has his own plans, while Leo tries to follow his dad. So what about Clerice? Clerice just decides to go to Vault 112 directly, without all these quests. He was getting tired of wrestling Deathclaws with his bare hands anyway. Woo! Leo finds a dog along the way, which he deems a perfect traveling companion. It's also the perfect icebreaker between our two protagonists. I love dogs. No way, me too. They're my favorite food for real. Come on, man. After arriving at Vault 112, the Lone Wanderer finds a room full of pods fit for humans. James is also present, but we cannot reach him. The experiment of Vault 112 was to see if it's possible to indefinitely sustain human life inside of virtual reality. The leader of this experiment is Dr. Stanislaus Braun. He is best known for his work on the GEC, which is a terraforming device that can create life out of nothing. It's just what's needed for Project Purity, so James went to this vault to seek information on this device. But now he's trapped in the simulation. The only way to get James out of there is to enter the simulation ourselves. Thus, we enter Tranquility Lane. Dr. Stanislaus Braun is also present, and he has been alive for 200 years in the simulation. The bad news is that he's masquerading as a young girl named Betty, and he's torturing the residents.
Pay a visit to the Rockwells. They're very happily married, and I'd like you to change that.
It's pretty fucked up when you think about it, so let's not do that. Betty is willing to let you and your dad go, but only if you play along with their games. For the first time in his life, Leo is forced to inflict pain and suffering on the innocent, but he's willing to do anything to save his dad from this torment. Clerice just activates the Chinese invasion failsafe protocol like a normal person. Once outside, the Lone Wanderer is finally reunited with their father.
Son, you've saved me.
James reveals that they were actually never born in Vault 101. Instead, James abandoned Project Purity and took up residence in the vault after Catherine died. This was strictly against the perimeters of the vault's experiment, so the exchange went something like this.
You need a doctor, and my son needs safety. We can help each other.
Can't do it. Nobody has entered or left the vault for over 200 years.
Do you have any idea what that means for the diversity of your gene pool, you f***ing idiot?
Welcome aboard. James discusses plans to return to Rivet City and continue work on Project Purity. Leo decides to join his father right away. Clerice is going to finish some business out in the wasteland first. Those children are not selling themselves into slavery. After that ordeal, James returns to Rivet City to recruit Dr. Lee alongside a group of other scientists for work on Project Purity. James is supposed to be a genius, but he forgets to recruit a security team as well, leaving his only child to clear out the Jefferson Memorial from mutant threats. Inside, Dad finally has a heart-to-heart with us and will react on the choice you made regarding the bomb in Megaton.
Megaton destroyed? You didn't have anything to do with that, did you?
Yes, I did.
I can't begin to tell you how disappointed I am.
And no Game Boy for a week either.
That's some bullshit. Regardless, there is work to be done, and James sends his son to do 15 minutes of super boring errands around the facility. During all of this, helicopters land at the memorial. They belong to the Enclave organization, which is a remnant of the old world United States government. Naturally, they can only have good intentions. Entering the main room again, it's revealed that the Colonel Autumn is set on assuming control of Project Purity.
Think of all the tax money we can stand to gain with a functioning water park. China can suck it.
Upon hearing this, James is like... He rigs a purifier to explode and sacrifices himself for the safety of his son. He goes out like a motherfucking G. Clipping through the wall shows us that he ain't really dead.
Revelation 21:6.
But now he is. With the help of Dr. Lee, the Lone Wanderer escapes the Enclave hostile takeover with their life, but Project Purity is out of their reach now. They end up at the remnants of the Pentagon, where the Brotherhood of Steel is holed up. Dr. Lee explains what happened and underlines the need for a gag. Meanwhile, Leo runs into Sarah again. Hey Sarah. With the help of the Brotherhood of Steel, the Lone Wanderer does some digging and he discovers that Vault 87 is home to just such a device. Unfortunately, because of an ungodly amount of radiation surrounding the entrance, entry via the main building is not possible. The only way to access Vault 87 is via Little Lamplight, which is a settlement where only kids live. Residents can live there until they turn 16, after which they are thrown out to fend for themselves in the wasteland. It's muddle as Unfortunately, the rules also apply to us.
Stay away, Mungo. I don't want to catch old from you.
I'm 28, you little As a matter of fact, we're too old to get in. So what can we do? Leo tries to bargain with the leader and he promises to return some missing kids to Little Lamplight in exchange for entry. The kids are found in Paradise Falls because some sick sold kids into slavery a few minutes ago. You can get the kids back home if you pay for them, or you can kill all the slavers. Leo decides on the cheapest option. In doing so, he frees all the slaves from Paradise Falls and is now allowed to enter Little Lamplight. Clerice understood his target audience a little better.
You must like having such a good-looking butt. Why don't you come on in?
Now, it's time to enter Vault 87. The experiment of Vault 87 was to test the effects of the forced evolutionary virus on humans. This started out as a way to evolve human ability beyond what was currently possible. That shit backfired. While it increases radiation resistance, size and strength, it also causes people to lose their sanity and humanity. All of the centaurs and super mutants you see running around are people that have been infected with the virus. The worst part of the virus is that it also gives you penis atrophy. It should then come as no surprise that Vault 87 is full of super mutants who are hostile to anyone who is not like them.
He has a penis. Get him.
Deeper in the vault, we find a well-spoken super mutant named Fox. The reason he is so eloquent is that he kept most of his cognitive functions after infection. The other mutants did not take kindly to that, so they imprisoned him for over 200 years. The only thing that kept him sane was the connection to the vault computers.
That gave me access to the history, literature, science, and fiction book files.
And I am guessing he also consumed copious amounts of pornography.
Yes.
Fox knows where in Vault 87 the gag is located, and he argues that we need to free him, as the location is also irradiated to hell. Leo can't stand to watch a sentient creature like this suffer, and he frees Fox from his prison cell. After which, the friendly super mutant holds up his end of the bargain and he retrieves the gag. Clerice just gets the gag by himself because he has the power of supplements, healthy eating, exercise and cold showers at his side to protect him from the otherwise lethal radiation levels. Whatever happens, the Lone Wanderer is ambushed by the Enclave, and he is taken in for interrogation by Colonel Autumn. The Lone Wanderer is now being held prisoner at the Enclave's base of operation. The Enclave tries to get the code to start the purifier from you. Clerice is terrified because he isn't armed with his trusty baseball bat and he cracks immediately. Upon spilling the code, he is executed in cold blood. That's not right. Clerice decides it would be funny to give them the wrong code as a prank. As an added bonus, this results in the death of someone trying to enter it. Whatever happens, the President of the United States interrupts and he beckons the Lone Wanderer to meet him. It is here that the Lone Wanderer learns that the President of the United States is actually a big-ass computer, which if the past years are anything to go by, isn't really too far off as a prediction for the future. The President has one request. When the time comes, he wants us to infect the water purifier with an advanced form of forced evolutionary virus, with the promise that it will eradicate all mutated life forms that drink it. But instead of only killing ghouls and mutants, it also kills humans. He's quite casual about eugenics. Instead of hearing him out, both Leo and Clerice talk the President into self-destructing. Leo does it for the good of the wasteland, and Clerice does it so that he can have some B-roll footage of him walking away from an explosion without actually looking at it. He is so cool. While escaping, Leo recruits Fox to join his cause, which can only be done if your character has good karma. So for Clerice, it ain't happening, honey. Also, I think we left him in his cell in that playthrough. Now, the gag has been lost to the Enclave, so we have to hurry back to the Brotherhood of Steel. Here, we share a report of what has happened and we set out for the final battle. Joining us in our crusade is Liberty Prime, who is the antithesis of communism.
Democracy is truth. Communism is death.
After a long and arduous battle, Sarah and the Lone Wanderer finally reach Project Purity. Here, Colonel Autumn is guarding the purifier, and it's time for the last stand. Leo reluctantly fights the Colonel and he reigns victorious, while Clerice has a slightly different approach. That's a nice argument, Colonel, but in my head I've already construed myself as the alpha male chat, and you as the seething virgin Wojak. Damn it, he has blasted us. Whatever happens, Colonel Autumn is defeated, but standing before the purifier, we hear it has to be activated now or the whole thing will explode. It is here that everything comes together.
Revelation 21:6.
Leo sacrifices himself to activate the purifier. It started with 216 and it ends with 216. As the life force leaves his body, Leo dies the same way as his father, knowing he fulfilled his parents' dream, and the world will be a better place for it. Sarah Lyons would later comment that Leopold was the best friend she ever had, but the romantic involvement was out of the question. Yeah, godverdomme. Clerice refuses to enter the purifier because it's spooky, and then he withholds the code as a prank to lighten the tension. It doesn't work.
What? Are you out of your mind?
Yes, but he does get a front row seat to Sarah sacrificing herself to activate the purifier. And that's the story of Fallout 3.